Okay, so this is the third video I'm uploading for this week. I must tell you that this subject, the first unit, is a bit theoretical. That's why I'm doing all the talking and all the presentation. But from the following units, you will have more active participation, especially with the preparation of your trabajos prácticos in the form of portfolio. All right. So, having said this, I would like to focus on part C of Unit 1, which has to do with the definition of intonation as part of paralanguage. Remember paralanguage that we saw from the threefold reality of oral communication. We have two definitions. There are plenty, of course, but we have chosen only two. And then I will focus on structures and functions of intonation. Of course, depending on the author that you follow, you also have variations on these topics. But as I told you, in this subject, we follow David Brazil from the School of Birmingham that focuses on intonation from a discourse perspective. So, although in this handout for Unit 1 you have a lot of material, I will just focus on 2 or 3 slides. The rest of the material up to the last page of this PDF file is for you to read extensively at home. Right? If you have any questions, you can ask us privately on our coaching periods, or maybe we can organize some comments on the Facebook wall. All right? But it's important that you just focus on what I'm going to tell you now. All right? So, we are going to start with the definition of intonation. There are, as I told you, in our approach, we include a traditional definition and a broader definition or a broader semantic definition. This subject is organized according to the second definition, but the traditional definition needs to be at least referred to because it's very much quoted in various works on English intonation. So, as I told you, intonation belongs to the paralanguage, and within paralanguage it belongs to the suprasegmental phonology. According to the traditional definition, intonation is restricted only to pitch movement, that is to say, the rises and falls of the voice in speech, that is to say, the tones. It's the melody of speech and the changing pitch of voice. This is according to Allen, Jones, and O'Connor. For example, these authors, these are separate authors. Allen, this one work, Jones, and O'Connor. The three consider that intonation is tones. As I told you, in this subject, we include other systems within intonation. And so our definition is broader because it encompasses several other subsystems. Of course, we need to include pitch movement. Pitch is el movimiento del tono de la voz, si va para arriba o si va para abajo. Okay? Pitch range is el rango. I can speak like that very monotonously, or I can do a lot of inflections, and that is a broader range that I'm using, okay? Loudness, rhythmicality, and tempo. This is a definition followed by Crystal on one hand, and Sinclair and Brazil on the other, and of course Brazil himself. So, for example, in Unit 2, we will start with tonality. This is the segmentation of speech into units, for example, phonological paragraphs, or paratones, the segmentation into tone units. And this has to do with intonation, but it's not precisely pitch movement. It doesn't have to do with tones. Also, in this unit that Marcos will be dealing with, we include pitch height, which is also known as key. Pitch height doesn't entail movement, it's only height, la altura, okay? Or the level. So, then we will deal with prominences in Unit 3, which is similar to what you saw in Phonetics 2, that is to say, sentence accent. But prominence is the word from the discourse perspective that we follow this year, whereas sentence accent is the terminology used from a grammatical point of view. Sentence is a grammatical category, whereas in discourse we speak of utterances, okay, not sentences. You have here functions of intonation. This is by Wells. It's a grammatical oriented approach. You can read this, but we will not focus on that. This is the organization of structures of intonation and functions, but they are not very clearly explained here. But the structures of intonation that we analyze this year are prominences, tones, and key. Key is pitch height, it's not pitch movement. Tones are pitch movement. And prominences, you already know that from Phonetics 2, has to do with accent, sentence accent, but in discourse, all right? Here on slide 38, you have a description of prominences. This is an enlarged version of the previous diagram. You don't need to read it again. And here you have the structures of that we will see this year, but what is most important for you is that you remember that there are three main structures as indicated here: prominences, tone, and key. Okay, those are the structure. And on page 36 we have the functions of discourse intonation. In Unit 2 we will see with Marcos especially the organizational function of intonation through the segmentation into paratones or phonological paragraphs, the segmentation into IPs according to Wells, which is called tonality, and also the structure of the tone unit. All of this has to do with the organizational function, and it includes two structures: key, that is to say pitch height, and pause. So this is intonation, but you see that there are no tones in this unit. So for tones to appear in our syllabus, you will have to wait until Unit 3. Unit 3, it's the information function, and this is realized through prominences and through tones. Okay, prominences are similar to tonicity, to sentence accent that you saw in Phonetics 2, but also you have tones that indicate which information is new, given, or in process, and we see all this in Unit 3. And finally, we have Unit 4, which deals with the social value and the role relationship functions of intonation. This is exclusively done by tones. So this unit is like the traditional definition of intonation. It's pitch movement, right? But these two have other components or other structures of intonation that do not necessarily have to do with tones or pitch movement. Here, as I told you, in Unit 2, you will deal with key, which is pitch height, la altura con que hablamos, like soprano, very high, or very low, okay? Los barítonos y los bajos, okay? So pitch height and pauses in Unit 2. contribute to the organizational function. In Unit 3, you have prominences, that is to say accents, in discourse, and also some tones. Nos vamos acercando con tonos a la definición estrecha, pero ven que acá estamos en una definición más amplia en esta parte de entonación que incluye otras cosas que no son los tonos. All right? Well, this is for Unit 4. You have a look at this because these are the 5 tones that David Brazil recognizes, but we will deal with that in the following classes. And here you have a text by Poyatos. It's very thorough. You can read that. You will not be assessed on every single detail, but it's nice to see what so many things you can do with your voice within paralanguage, right? Then, for extensive reading, you have how Brazil described direct and oblique orientation, but just for reading, okay? He included these 2 categories for reading aloud. We, in this subject, included also for speaking, because it's the attitude of the speaker towards either the text that he's encoding or the audience that he's addressing. Okay? So you have all this extensive material. Mind you that Brazil is a bit complicated to read because he uses a lot of long sentences, and his writing style is a bit intricate. So, but just read this as extensive material, okay? Because I've already explained these contents in the previous videos, all right? And here there's a description of the School of Birmingham and how Brazil presents the structures and functions of intonation. You have only three structures in this model, as I told you: prominences, tones, and key. And then you have the 3 functions that I told you. The organization function, the information function, and the interpersonal function. That is to say, the relationship between speaker and listener or participants in the communicative event. So, having said all this, I encourage you to follow these videos and do the activities that follow. Well, have a nice week. Happy Easter for those of you who celebrate it. And we'll meet again the following week. Bye.